Hey everyone, this is Cameron from Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast and wherever you listen to them. We are everywhere. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And today we've got a pretty interesting show. We've got reviews for the second batch of episodes. No, I'm not calling it season 2 of the Cuphead Show, as well as Rilakkuma and Kaoru and the follow-up, Rilakkuma's Theme Park Adventure. We're going to start with our favorite mischievous mugs, the Cuphead Show. How would you describe this second batch of episodes?
So where we last left off with our two shenanigan-filled heroes, they got sent to jail. And within the first episode, they break out. And the format of the show is starting to set itself in stone. It's a mixture of both one-off stories with a few episodes and nods here and there that continue the main plot of the devil coming after Cuphead and Mugman. You'll see what I mean when we get there to that point. But it also expands on the universe a little more. We learn a little more about Miss Chalice. We get to see a few more of the bosses be turned into actual characters within the show. I think everyone's favorite is either episode 3, High Seas Adventures, where we encounter the ever-lovable pirate Briny Beard as he wants to reconnect with his love, the giant and infamous Kala Maria, who's voiced by Natasha Demetriou. And if you're a What We Do in the Shadows fan, you'll recognize her instantly. Really spot on casting in that regards. It's also one of the first times, like outside of Wayne Brady, we get more celebrity casting in this show.
Casting is spot on across the board.
I mean, it's basically the same as before with True Valentino and Frank Totoro as our main duo. We got Joe Hanna as Elder Kettle, Gray Griffin as Chalice, Luke Millington Drake as the Devil, Wayne Brady as King Dice. It's pretty much like the same group of people before. Give a little shout out to Keith Ferguson as Bowl Boy, who puts in a delightful and yet very demented approach to the character in one episode. I thought he was just great. I mean, this whole cast is good. It's basically the same handful of actors and such that they have, but they do their jobs well and have enough diversity in their voices to give different performances and such.
Mm-hmm. Out of everyone in this cast, Keith Ferguson is the one who kind of pops up the most. He's involved in a lot of these Netflix shows.
Gray Griffin is also maybe up there also, since she's in that CGI He-Man series that we talk about.
Oh, that's right.
I think definitely a better batch of episodes than the first ones, just because we get more of the new characters and different setups. And again, they build up the world of Cuphead, even as absurd and wild as it is. And they do keep continuity. The stuff with the devil this time around is hilarious. I think it was episode 7, episode 8, Release the Demons, where he keeps getting so mad that he accidentally kills his highest ranked demons a couple times.
That gag is great. I also love the actuary who comes in and like pretty much just gives him hell every time.
Oh yeah, Stickler, who's voiced by Andrew Morgado. It's great. And then he's just like, oh yeah, by the way, I got that nice jacket that prevents you from hurting me. Got a lot of the same charm and high octane energy that the first batch of episodes have. Not much has expanded or improved because the foundation was already great. They still have yet to expand on a few of the mysteries of the first batch of episodes. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just like an observation.
There's clearly more territory. It feels like we've only just begun to scratch the surface, but at least we get to see more Chalice for sure, because I thought she made a great first impression at the end of the first batch, and
Right.
seeing her interact more with our two leads was just delightful.
And it's nice that they've pretty much caught on that Chalice is not the most trustworthy friend per se to have, but it still leads to a lot of fun adventures with them. I love her dialogue and Grey Griffin's performance. I love that line of like, so you know how I was talking about how I was lying about the angry mob? Well, I was lying about the angry mob. There's such a fun spark of energy that Grey Griffin brings to the performance. And we get a lot of other either small returning characters like Ribby and Croaks on the seesaw. I love that little gag in the episode where Cuphead looks for a new brother, since Mugman is too safe, quote unquote, as Cuphead would say. And like, do you have like some episodes that you would say are your favorites that would expand on the world or what have you?
The episode Sweet Temptation, where we meet
Baroness Fine Boing Boing.
She's another one of those fun characters, and I just like anytime they put like a new spin on classic fairy tales. Like, this is very clearly a riff on Hansel and Gretel, which is fun.
That's probably the episode that she appears in is probably one of the most visually splendid batch of episodes. Just how they bring back the whole realistic backgrounds, like against the animation and such. Like how they did with the graveyard sequence from the first batch of episodes.
It reminds me a lot of the way the old Fleischer shorts would use 3D backgrounds with like their 2D character cells.
I mean, that's the whole thing. The show takes, and the game itself takes a lot from the Fleischer era of rubber hose animation without all the yikes attached to it. I think Baroness von Bonbon has the best animation of the characters so far. Just the whole unhinged smile that she has when she's showing around Cuphead through the Sweet Kingdom and such at first. It's just great. I love looking at like still photos of her, just knowing that like sooner or later she's gonna turn just horrifying, just like into one of those 80s era horror movie monsters made with like practical effects and puppetry and such.
Mm-hmm.
That's what her more evil version looks like. And Zoe Moss voices Baroness von Bonbon. I don't know how to describe her voice. Just,
it's like some sort of mix of like a New York accent, but like, I can't really describe it either, but she definitely reminds me in some ways of Arlene Sorkin's portrayal of Harley Quinn.
Oh, I picked that up also. It's just more of this, but I am wondering like what the overarching goal, like what's the story going to be? Is it going to be more one-off episodes like the Ice Cream Man? I love that episode where Mugman just gets so fed up with the Ice Cream Man. Or the Rats All folks.
Oh, that's another fun one. Another one of my favorites is Dead Broke, where Cuphead, Mugman, and Miss Chalice basically become Ghostbusters.
That one's hilarious. I love that episode too. Werner Werman, one of the more interesting bosses of the original Cuphead game, where a mouse that drove like a tank made of a can and then would get eaten by a cat. Would you like to see more story-driven like episodes, like say like the Devil's Pitchfork or Dead Broke or Release the Demons, where they like keep pushing the story and the conflict forward? Or
I kind of like the balance that they have between like starting and ending each batch with like setting up the overarching story, but then sprinkling in the standalone episodes kind of in between.
I'm curious to know what the overarching goal is, because when we get to the final episode where the devil decides to have some time for himself, and then accidentally leaves his powerful pitchfork in the hands of the people you don't want to have it, Cuphead and Mugman. And then Cuphead's all confident and such, saying like, well, you know what? You can't take anything from me that's worth as much as this pitchfork. And then the Devil's is like, oh, honey, I can take something that means just as much to you.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. And then takes Mugman back to hell. Like, it's interesting because there are moments where the characters do expand and reference past events. And then there are episodes like, say, Cheese, where they are just at each other's throats. I want to know what the end game is because, yeah, we're now halfway through the episode order that Netflix took that they're going to try to sell us as 4 different seasons. They're not 4 different seasons. Yeah, I think a mix is still good, but if you're going to have a plot, I want to know what the end game is for that plot.
I would ask spoilers for those who haven't finished or played the video game, but do you remember how like the actual game ended?
Basically, like how the game starts and finishes is Cuphead and Mugman go to King Dice's place, basically gamble away their souls, and then the Devil's like, hey, I will give you your souls back if you can round up all these different souls that also need to pay me back and such. It's a boss rush game. And you would basically be fighting Briny Beard, Baroness von Boing Boing, King Dice at the very end, Werner. Then you would fight the Devil himself. So
what I'm thinking is, however they're going to end this series, it's probably going to be something on the darker side of things, where the Devil becomes more of an actual threat as opposed to Elmer Fudd, but with a pitchfork.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Because I understand it's like you want to do both, but then you may or may not get yourself caught up in like, well, we kind of painted ourselves in this corner. What can we do? It's a lot of fun still. This is still probably one of the better animated shows so far of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And like, if you're craving and wanting more of the Looney Tunes era, Fleischer era style of like animated cartoons and shenanigans, this one will fill the void because, as we all know, with what's going on right now with Warner Brothers Discovery, who knows exactly what's going to happen to all the Looney Tunes cartoons that are there, and what's going to happen with those 2 Looney Tune movies, since they're having to get shopped around because Warner Brothers Discovery in its head do not like animation.
It's weird what's going on over there. I hope they get their stuff together soon.
Right, same here. But back to Cuphead. Yeah, so we have 25 episodes now out. So we have 23 left.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll just have to see where that goes, or if after this first batch of episodes we'll get more of them, because with the way they set up the show, it could go either way.
So far I'm enjoying the ride.
Same, just a lot of fun, quirky cartoons with a touch of like the more hyperactive modern vibe to it all. You can see why this one game is now like the next Shovel Knight in regards of just like building this multimedia franchise. And except for Cuphead, it's just been getting everything: the game, DLC, a TV show. You can see why it has caught on and why it's a lot of fun to watch. But now we must turn our heads to Rilakkuma and Kaoru and its sequel series,
Rilakkuma's Theme Park Adventure.
Mike, how about you tell us a little bit about who Rilakkuma is?
Rilakkuma is a character produced by the company SanX, which is kind of like Sanrio's competitor. This company has been around since like the 1970s. Rilakkuma was created in 2003. He's been in various pieces of media, but most Western audiences got their first taste of the character in 2019 when Netflix started distributing the first of the series, Rilakkuma and Kaoru. This one is just 13 episodes, and it's
weird.
It's very much inspired by various stop motion projects from like Wes Anderson. There's a little bit of like Rankin Bass and other sort of influences in there.
Well, first off, I just want to say I recognize some of the San X characters. If you go to an Alamo Drafthouse with any anime film that plays there, they show off that afro wearing dog with the rainbow afro.
Oh.
It's wild. So in this first series, Rilakkuma and Kaoru, it's created by Aki Kondo, written by Naoko Ojigami, and directed by Masahito Kobayashi. So it's about this woman named Kaoru, who's voiced in the first season by Lana Condor. If that name sounds familiar, she's the main actress from the To All the Boys I Loved Before films. And she's also Jubilee in X-Men Apocalypse. Which, this was interesting. This was around the same time Netflix was doing a lot of like crossover promotion with their shows and films. Like actors would show up in one thing and then they'd show up in another. And this is one of those cases where one of their more popular rom-com actors shows up in this show. And Kaoru is this woman in her 30s living alone by herself with Rilakkuma, Rilakkuma, and Kirotori. These two bears and this one yellow chick that has an obsessive cleaning personality. First off, it's stop motion. This isn't like the Willoughbys where it's CGI, but it's made to look like stop motion. No. If you watch that Enter the Anime or something, the documentary on Netflix, I don't recommend it. It's a terrible documentary. That's more of like an ad placement for all of their stuff that was coming out at that time. But they do show you that, yes, Rilakkuma and Kaoru are stop motion, like full on painstaking, time consuming stop motion animation. It's a weird show, like in a good way, but also I don't know what to tell you what to expect with this show. It's slice of life, and there's no real, like, if you're one of those like snooty, pedantic, nitpicky kind of people who just has to criticize and be bore about everything, there are no real explanations about where Rilakkuma and Korilakkuma come from or why there only seems to be this one Kirotori. And even though they say like, oh, Rilakkuma has a zipper on his back, good luck ever finding out what's exactly inside the suit.
They tease it a couple times, but just like the Krabby Patty formula or KFC's 11 secret herbs and spices, you'll never know what's inside.
No, and I like that. Just don't explain it. There's just this weird bear and bear child and little chick living with this one woman. What's another aspect of this show that we should tell people if they haven't heard about this? Because, you know, Netflix likes their content, but they don't like advertising.
I'd say that for characters who don't have any like spoken dialogue, Rilakkuma, you will fall in love with him almost immediately.
All he wants to do is lay down and eat pancakes and to make sure that Kaoru is all right, because there's the little stuff with Rilakkuma and gang, and then there's the more slice of life stuff that Kaoru is dealing with, whether it's the fact that she's grown distant and detached from her old friends, or it's just something in her life. It's a lot more mature than what you would think. Not that this is like an R-rated drama or anything like that.
This isn't like moral oral or anything, although one episode does kind of get close to that territory.
Yeah, it's like one of the, what was it like? Oh, yeah, episode 5, Ghost Girl. And, oh boy, yeah, it gets a little creepy and a little more mature, per se. But a lot of this show is Kaoru dealing with some kind of situation. She's feeling like she's been left behind by all of her friends during the first episode. But Rilakkuma essentially like through non-verbal ways. Make sure that Kaoru knows that, like, hey, it's okay if you haven't found something that makes you you right now. I think what the moral of the episode says at the end is that every flower blooms differently or something like that.
Which is nice.
It's like a show that is like made for a younger audience, but also is speaking to the adults or young adults watching this show. It's also nice to have an anime series that focuses on adults. It's once again one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, we have to fight tooth and nail to get one 30-year-old character like in any anime from time to time. And yet here we are. And it's like, well, thank you. Like, what other aspects of this show were you surprised by, or what did you like?
I was a little bit surprised to hear Veronica Taylor again. She voices a little kid named Tokio, who is one of Kaoru's neighbors, who he's a typical little boy who is just full of funk and personality.
For those who may not remember, Veronica Taylor was the original voice actor for Ash Ketchum in Pokemon. And you can definitely hear the Ash Ketchum. At first, when we encounter him, he kidnaps Rilakkuma, and Kiratori. And it's like, you better bring pancakes or else you'll never see your friend again. Of course, Kaoru calls him out on this nonsense, saying like, no, you don't do this. And then finds out that because his mom works late, he's alone most of the time. And it's a very sweet show. It definitely has moments of like, you know what? Not everything's going to work out for Kaoru. And sometimes that's how life is. But some days are going to be worse than others. And some days are going to be better than others. And I like that. It's a more nuanced take on slice of life stuff, because a lot of it can be very one note if you're not careful.
It has some pop culture references, but it doesn't like overdo it. Like one episode, the 10th episode, Hawaii, where somehow Rilakkuma, and Kiratori become YouTube celebrities after perform a little dance for Kaoru.
That one's hilarious. It's a very timeless feel to everything. And it's nice that we do at points reconnect with Kaoru while she's at the office. And unfortunately, the side characters aren't all interesting, or there's just not that many of them. There's like the old lady that hangs out at the front of the apartment complex. There's the boss at work who's just kind of like, he cares for his coworkers, but he's also like, hey, you know, it is what it is.
I swear he has like the strangest character design. He's like always smiling in a very creepy kind of fashion. It reminds me of the character from Courage the Cowardly Dog who always says like, and I'm about to do something naughty.
Well, it's because the animation for this first season goes a lot by Rankin Bass philosophies. His upper lip does not move. It's the bottom lip that moves. And David Vincent does a great job as him. Also, if you've watched Jujutsu Kaisen, he's Kinto Nanami. And
yeah, I hear it.
He's also in like Kill la Kill. And then there's Sayu, the more vapid, younger co-worker to Kaoru, who's very self-absorbed. And it's not Melissa Fawn's fault. Melissa Fawn is great. She does that character very well. It's just how the character's written.
The performance is great, but she's doing a great job at playing a character who I despised.
Yeah, she can be extremely unlikable at times, which is the point. She's meant to be this. If you worked in an office or if you worked at any company, you've probably seen a Sayu. And Melissa Fawn has been everywhere. If you're like currently watching the Naruto series, she plays Himawari Uzumaki, Naruto's daughter. She's Ryder from the Fates franchise. She's Gaz from Invader Zim. Voice cast is also like really good. So like I said, Lana Condor's Kaoru. We have Veronica Taylor, Melissa Fawn, Abby Trott plays the ghost girl. Kaoru's mother is voiced by Barbara Goodson. Hayate, the good-looking delivery man that Kaoru crushes on, is voiced by Chris Hackney. And then every once in a while we get Brianna Knickerbocker and Keith Silverstein and Wendy Lee. Wendy Lee helped the voice direction for this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and of course, Wendy Lee has been everywhere. She's Conan in the recent dub release of Lupin the Third versus Detective Conan. And of course, most people would probably know her as Kione from the Tenchi Muyo franchise and Faye Valentine in Cowboy Bebop. It's a very low-key show. I hate using this comparison because I use it every other time with how the vibe is for this show. It's very Animal Crossing. Just lo-fi, low-key, just very non-world ending stuff for our cast of characters.
Yeah, very down to earth, but still kind of quirky.
I like all the characters. I think Kaoru is very interesting. I mean, sometimes she could be a little too down in the dumps about everything. But again, the show says at one point of the end of one of the episodes, some days are going to be bad. Sometimes life is just going to be okay, can you just stop dunking on me? I need a day. That's what I like about it. It's not super sweet or saccharine, but it's not too cynical about it either. It finds a nice balance with everything, especially with what happens in the later third of the first season where they're oh, we're about to get evicted. Well, shoot. But they don't really let that get them down. And they even encounter stuff like Rilakkuma deals with his own version of the Snowman's Wonderland from Raymond Briggs. He leaves the apartment at night and dances with a bunch of snowmen. And there's just a lot of low-key charm to this show. And every episode is short. It's about 13 minutes or 12 minutes.
Yeah, anywhere in that ballpark. But this is one of those shows you can just kind of pop on a lazy Sunday afternoon and just have a good time, while also relating to the things that Kaoru is going through.
Yeah, because a lot of shows are not willing to do that because you get those people who are I don't want to watch an anime about real life. I want to watch an anime where someone gets zapped into another world or something. And it's just yeah, but you kind of need both. You don't want to lean too much on the escapism of it all.
Variety is the spice of life.
Now, for the second series,
Rilakkuma's theme park adventure,
we have our gang winning a contest to get basically a free pass to go to this big theme park. And unfortunately for our characters, they all get separated. Rilakkuma ends up doing a bunch of weird little odd jobs around the park. And Tokyo ends up with Rilakkuma and Hiroi Tori. They encounter new characters, new stories, and new moments of slice of life wholesomeness. And I think I prefer this series over the first one.
Same by just a hair. I think the difference between these two is Rilakkuma's theme park adventure is a little bit more family friendly, but it's also much more chaotic in terms of just the sequence of events.
Exactly. It's what exactly happens? We encounter a young girl who's separated from her parents, who's a really good video game player. And they also encounter a mechanic who keeps the entire park running, a pop idol that has a hat of many jobs with how few employees are working at the park. And then there's a clown who is in love with the idol. There's the manager who's just trying to keep everything running. Who else is there? Or is that basically all of them?
One thing I love about this series in particular is that nobody knows what the hell they're doing. It is honestly, a lot of this series can be described as a comedy of errors, even down to the inciting incident that Kaoru leaves a bag that has their lunch and the remote control for...
Oh, the little duck?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little duck thing. And Yeah, it's very wild with how, like, there are not that many episodes this season. Like, the first show had 13 episodes, and then this one had 8 episodes. But I think the fact that they had to cut down a few episodes was because of how ambitious they got with the like theme park and such, because they have a lot of sets and stop motion is very expensive and very time consuming.
It is, but to their credit, the set that they designed for the theme park looks incredible.
Gosh, it's so vibrant and whimsical looking.
Even like the one of the other subplots is that this park went through renovations, but they still have like remnants of the old park. There's one ride that they go on called like the Jungle Adventure, which is very obviously a riff on Jungle Cruise.
Right.
And even that is a lot of fun. They have all the animatronics, the dinosaur, and I think there's like a crocodile too. They really went above and beyond to capture what it's like to spend a day in like a Disney World or Universal.
I can't imagine doing that again. I remember loving it as a kid, but every time I think about going back to like a Disney World or something as an adult, I'm just kind of like, I think I'm good.
Yeah, the last time I was at one of these theme parks was for my senior high trip. We went to Six Flags New England. That was a fun trip. I enjoyed that, but that was the last time I was at one of these big theme parks.
Right. But it looks cool. Just all these bright colors, great set pieces, and like just looks really cool. Poor Karu though. I wonder if any of the reception to the first show got her pushed to be a secondary role this time around. Well, it's that situation where it's like how the original Ghostbusters cartoon, the one based off of the hit movie and such, not the old live action show from way back then. That all it's a whole thing with the Ghostbusters naming and such. Just look it up. It goes in a lot of directions. It's how they had like, you're supposed to love and invest in the Ghostbusters. But then they gave Slimer so much more screen time. They were looking up the production history of the original Ghostbusters cartoon is wild. But I feel like that's what happened here. Because Karu gets pushed to the side. She's really not the main character. She's just kind of there at points. While Tokyo and Rilakkuma and Rilakkuma and Kiroi Tori, golly, with how many times we're saying these three names, we might as well make a drinking game out of it. It was very interesting just to see how much they put like more to focus on the secondary main character with Tokyo, and then our three mascots get more of the time to do whatever and such. Like, what did you think about that with Karu getting the, like, hey, you're going to be billed second?
I just feel bad for the character because of one simple mistake. You had one job. It's because of that she just had like the worst luck this whole time. As far as who kind of takes over as like the co-lead, I like Tokyo enough that I was okay with him kind of having more adventures with our three lovable animals. Also, the new characters that we meet are a lot of fun too.
I like the mechanic. I love his story, and I love how they do those great flashback sequences and like that sketch pencil look.
Oh, the flashbacks were so good. I would love to see like a whole series in that kind of sketchbook style.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun and also really expensive.
True.
I like these new characters because the first show did not have much in terms of a supporting cast. But the second one definitely builds up upon them. Like, I love the parents to the gamer girl, where they were just like, man, I remember when we used to come back here all the time and we just conquered the arcades. I think that was, I forgot his name. Derek Stephen Prince plays the dad. From what I could tell, it's one of those things where it's like, it was kind of hard to find English dubcast information for this new series. I'm really annoyed by that because I want to give these voice actors a shout out about who plays who and what have you.
Same.
Because they do a lot of work, and due to recent events, it seems like voice actors in anime and such get so much flack for no reason because of a bunch of terrible fans. But I thought the voice acting for this new series was very good. Very, again, brings it over the low-key charm of the first show. And I think my favorite character was the mechanic.
The mechanic was very good.
I think because he had the most heart to his story and such. It's like how they would flash back to him and his friend of how they would run things, and how even at the end when they're like, man, we got to shut down the park because they're just not making enough money. And he takes it in stride. He's like, well, you know what? One story ends and then a new one begins. And it's just nice to get those messages these days, because I feel like with everything going on, some people are feeling aimless with life, and I don't blame them. Sometimes we just need to hear that message or those words to say, like, hey, everything's okay. And that's just what really makes me like these shows. I feel like people kind of dismissed them because of the stop motion and Kaoru's character.
Which is really unfair.
It's like, oh no, she's a realistic human being. Like, I'm sorry, she's not some hyper fantasy dream woman or something like that. It's frustrating when that happens because they like to say, oh, I want something more grounded and realistic in my anime.
And then they get exactly that. And it's like, no, I just want action.
And it's just like, oy. What's that phrase that you have about, like, fans don't know what they want, they just know what they don't want?
Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely, like, low-key stakes. It's more how this idol in this show is, like, stressed out, not confident enough that she's going to be able to save everyone, and having to, like, take over so many jobs also. But I like her dynamic. And then with the clown guy who's just like, oh, I have a crush on her, but I don't exactly know how to approach her. Like, it's just charming. That's another word we can make a drinking game out of with this show. It's charming.
There is so much to love about every character. And I also like how there's no, like, nefarious villain. There's no sabotage. It's just things are going wrong and they all need to come together and fix the problem.
And that's sometimes all you need. Not everyone needs a world-ending story and such. It's just, here we need, like, just something you can relate to. And I was wondering how you would react to these shows, because I remember watching the first half of the first series and being like, well, this is really charming. And then I lost track of time, and then too much stuff came out, which is the case with, Netflix.
Of course.
But I am so glad to finally rewatch it again. And I don't know where they would go with a new series, because they kind of hint, like, Kaoru and the trio are now hanging out at this new apartment, and she's maybe or maybe not dating the delivery guy, who is great in this new series also.
Yeah.
As he gets roped in with all the other employees.
It's just a great subplot for him specifically, because he comes in with, dressed in his work uniform, and basically the same thing that happens to Rilakkuma is the staff at the theme park are just so overworked that they see anyone just kind of loafing about and they're like, hey, you, help us.
It's very funny. So yeah, I definitely would give this one a watch. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't like it. I mean, unless you don't vibe with slice of life stuff. If you don't vibe with slice of life stuff, you probably should avoid this show. But if you are down for that, and to have some more of, like, here's a human with this otherworldly entity, aka Rilakkuma, then I definitely recommend it. It's a show that's all about, like, hey, life is going to have its ups and downs. Some days are going to be better than others, but it's going to be okay.
I think this is another one of those shows, kind of like how I described Lost Ollie, that if it's a message that you need to hear, you will definitely appreciate the experience. And also, it's just a lot of fun. The second series, Rilakkuma's theme park adventure, especially, is just a delight. If you're a big theme park nerd, I think you'll get a kick out of a lot of the production design, a few nods to, like, real life theme parks. You'll find something here to enjoy.
Right on. Definitely give Rilakkuma and Kaoru and Rilakkuma's theme park adventure a shot. And then, of course, give more support to the Cuphead Show. With what's going on right now in animation, it's more important that if you have access, like legal access to these shows, like talk about them online, share them around, make sure everyone watches them, because otherwise, you know what the companies are going to do? They're going to look over to the right and say, what does the algorithm say? And we just don't want that. For my recommendation, I'm going to recommend a show that I can't wait to talk about when we get to it for maybe a Halloween episode or something. It's called Little Demon. It's a new adult comedy that's on FX and Hulu, which is kind of nice to see. There's a new adult animation show that's on FX that's not just Archer. And it's produced by Atomic Cartoons. And it stars Aubrey Plaza, Danny DeVito, and his daughter, Lucy DeVito. 13 years after being impregnated by Satan, a reluctant mother, Laura, and her Antichrist daughter, Chrissy, attempt to live an ordinary life in Delaware, but are constantly thwarted by monstrous forces, including Satan, who yearns for custody of his daughter's soul. First off, this is a great trio of main character acting choices. Aubrey Plaza's just great. Danny DeVito is always a delight. And Lucy DeVito is really charming as Chrissy. What's interesting about the show is how it handles what a child would feel like while going through a divorce. And the two sides are very much at each other's throats. It's handled very well. It can also be very funny, but that should be no shock since Dan Harmon is a producer on it.
Of course.
And you should definitely support this Dan Harmon show and not that terrible garbage fire of an NFT project that's getting pushed on Fox. We haven't seen one trailer for the actual show, but lo and behold, the NFTs are the thing that they keep jamming down our throats. I don't get it, man. Little Demon has a very distinct feel to it. It's not just Rick and Morty. It's not just like every other super hyper violent adult comedy. It's violent. There's definitely a lot more nudity if you watch it on Hulu, which was interesting to see. Not like full on HBO level nudity, just kind of like from time to time, it's like, oh, well, okay then.
I'm looking at the supporting cast and guest stars, and Michael Shannon as Unshaven Man.
Oh yeah, he's great.
That's a character I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, and if you watch Star Trek Lower Decks, you'll recognize Eugene Cordero as Finnegan, Chrissy's first friend at school. And it's definitely like got a little more energy to it. Like it's definitely something to watch when you are like waiting for the Has Been Hotel show to come back, or if you're needing something to fill the void between the Hell of a Boss episodes that are airing on YouTube and such. But I am very happy that there's this adult animated comedy that's actually doing something good, different enough to like gives it a little more substance than just trying to be like Rick and Morty, trying to be like Big Mouth, or try to be like Family Guy or South Park and such.
It's good to have more variety when it comes to adult animation. And speaking of which, my recommendation is a new series that's streaming on both AMC Plus and High Dive called Pantheon, created by Craig Silverstein and based on Ken Liu's short stories in the Apocalypse triptych. Basically, the best way I can describe this is the American version of SEL, where the show deals a lot with artificial intelligence, but their version is called uploaded intelligence. Basically, there's this company pretty much playing God. They're doing experiments to, keep people alive after death. And the first 2 episodes are available now, and new episodes will be dropping every Thursday. And if you're a big sci-fi fan, you're definitely going to want to check this one out. And the voice casting here is great. You have Katie Chang as our main character, Maddie Kim, Paul Dano as Caspian, another friend of Maddie's, Aaron Eckhart as Carrie, Caspian's father, Rosemary DeWitt as Ellen, Maddie's mother, and then Chris Diamantopoulos as Julius Pope, Razin Jeffrey as Shonda, Daniel Day Kim as Maddie's father, Ron Livingston as Peter Waxman, Taylor Schilling as Caspian's mother, Renee. There's a bunch of guest stars, including the late William Hurt, who got a dedicated to mention at the end of episode 2. This cast is insane. This is a show produced by Titmouse. You know it's going to look great, and it's one of those fascinating shows about the afterlife, but in a more cyberpunk fashion.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. And too bad AMC Plus didn't do this with some of their other shows. Like, I know they had a stop motion animated show that was done by the Robot Chicken guys, but I think that was before they bought High Dive. And I'm assuming this is only on High Dive because it's anime adjacent. So
probably. Apparently, this is the first kind of crossover between AMC and High Dive, and I really hope it's not the last, because A, the AMC Plus app sucks, and B, this just gets more eyes on High Dive, and it raises their profile.
I can't wait to check it out, so I'll be curious to see how I react to it. And that will be it for this episode. Next time, we'll be talking about Cars on the Road and the finally getting released Bee and Puppy Cat series on Netflix.
But until then, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Cam's Eye View. I have my own website called camseyeview.biz, where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. We're also on YouTube, on Podchaser, on the Banana Meter. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.